expected to accommodate your children while I'm calling you at work for a service I pay for? Welcome back, but if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. Y'all, I am big mad. I haven't been able to watch Disney Plus on any TV in my house for the last few days. I finally gave up troubleshooting on my own and called technical support this morning. The rep who answered my call was clearly working from home. I could hear people coughing in the background, kids babbling nonsense, and obvious TV. It was so loud I didn't even hear her name or what question she was trying to ask me. I said I couldn't hear her over the background noise, maybe she should close the door? And then she just muted the line except when she was speaking. This resulted in utter silence while I spoke, and me still not able to hear her when she spoke. After a few attempts to understand her, I said, I'm sure you're working from home with the pandemic, and I get it, I work from home too, but could you please do something so there isn't any background noise so I can hear you? She did not like this. Not at all. But because she raised her voice to argue with me, I could finally hear her. Yes, I'm working from home, but the TV is on in the living room and I can barely hear it, so there's no way you can hear it. I have to admit, I was heated by now and Karen mode was activated. I understand times are hard, but I'm trying to get professional assistance for a service I am paying for. Could you please provide an environment that accommodates this and turn your TV off so I can hear you? My daughter's watching TV and I'm not turning the TV off on her. It keeps her occupied. Then please transfer me to someone that was responsible enough to make appropriate childcare accommodations while they work and could provide me with assistance without having to yell at me over their kids. This is where she hung up on me. I've been sitting here stewing for about 15 minutes before a call back. I just want to watch Star Wars and Cinderella and not listen to babies. If it wouldn't be okay for your kid to watch cartoons at full blast while you're at work in the office, then why is it okay when your office is in your house? Update, I called back and we got everything working. And the second rep was the embodiment of professionalism. I also told her about the first one. She reached out to management, who took my information and said they were pulling the call and going to address the employee. I'm off to watch dinosaurs and drink Bloody Marys in my quiet house. Holy F, this is infuriating. I'm the only Childfree person, also the only female in my team, and even my manager can't have a conversation with me without his 2-year-old and 3-month-old in the distance. You can't bring it up to corporate because they also have kids, and the thought is, that's life. Now, because of crappy customer service on their part, I might need to go back into the office to be fair to all the others that need to go back because their kids are making it so that they can't work properly. F you. I don't have kids. I should get to stay home without being intermingled with you. Kids are back in school here. 2 of my coworkers have had their kids sent home because of outbreaks at their schools. And you're telling me that because they can't concentrate at home, I need to go back into work to possibly be infected? I repeat, their kids were sent home because of possible exposure. And you're telling Childfree people it is unfair that the parents need to go back into work because that is the only way they can get work done? And I am a more efficient worker at home. Being told it is unfair that I get to keep working at home because they can't, even though I have a husband who works from home and has since been before COVID started, it's okay to infect him when he has a pre-existing condition? Because kids? Sorry for the rant. I'm just so pissed off. My head is about to explode. Not related to children specifically, but this reminds me of the time I got into a car accident and was calling my auto club for a tow. My car windows were blown out, so I couldn't hear the service person until I put it on speaker. And when I put it on speaker, she couldn't hear me. She actually asked me to go somewhere quieter to call. I had to explain I couldn't go anywhere because I was on the center median of a highway. She acted like I was the first person to call for a tow from a heavy traffic area. It was so rude to me. People taking calls from a home office should absolutely have headphones. It sucks for the children and the people who do not have large enough living spaces. This year has been challenging for all, but I 100% agree that if your child is interfering with your ability to do your job, then you need to make some changes. I work customer service from home, and the first thing they demanded when they sent us to start working from home was that we have a quiet environment away from distractions and background noise. We can get in serious trouble for the sounds of children and TVs in the background, and being rude to a customer is even worse. Hanging up, that's grounds for termination at my call center, as well as the one I worked at previously. My coworkers who have spawned all have their kids trained to be quiet and leave them alone while the headset is on, or else they work nights when the kids aren't conscious. Up until January, I was working from home for a contact center. Part of my job was helping other work from home agents get their equipment working. Having a noise-free environment is always a requirement. With the pandemic, I've seen some leniency, but outright disregard is not acceptable. I doubt whoever manages their customer care would allow this. I'm glad he spoke up. It's one of my pet peeves. Every work from home job I've ever had has expressly stated that working from home is not a substitute for childcare. Some people just don't get it or think they can get away with it. The agent was probably wearing a gaming headset. They block out a lot of background noise for the wearer, and it's easy not to notice how noisy it is for the person on the other side. I have to call employers constantly as part of my job to make sure that they've received documents we've submitted, and this happens all of the goddamn time. I have a hard time tuning out children noise. It's weird. I can go into a busy bar, pre-COVID, with a friend and have a conversation where I'm not distracted. But the second I hear whining or screaming from children, it is all I can hear, and I have a hard time blocking it out. At least the awful conversation with the other party on my end, not necessarily that anyone is rude, but I end up stammering because I can't gather my thoughts, and a call that should take 2 minutes takes 5 because I can't get my point across or have to ask them to repeat themselves. The thing I don't get is how people are unable to control their kids. I worked with 4 moms during lockdown, and we Zoomed at least daily. Our lockdown was 8 weeks. I saw kids belonging to 3 of the 4, and like once each, but none were what I would call intrusive. 1 was the first day, her kids wanted to say hi and were then shooed out of the room. 2 was when our new team member started. She introduced her kids, they were cute. 3 was that the kid was in the room with her, silently working on his schoolwork because he had to be supervised after not doing his schoolwork. The 4th parent, my boss, I never saw her kid. Both parents worked demanding jobs and had instilled a sense of responsibility and independence in their kid, and he just understood what was expected of him. Just be a parent. All the kids involved above were ages 2 to 14. I worked in a call center and we had a disconnect button, but we were told we would be instantly terminated if we ever used it. Even in situations where the caller clearly intended to hang up but just hadn't quite put the receiver down properly, we required manager approval. So instead, we just sit there listening to their private conversation or background noise or whatever. This is in 2001 when landlines were still a thing. We were told that if the customer said goodbye, we were allowed to disconnect the call, which was good because a lot of people don't hang up the phone. If we weren't busy, I'd stay on the line and listen. Never heard anything good, lol, but one lady did say, "Wow, she was really nice," to someone as she was hanging up the phone. It was an interesting job. They couldn't tell who hung up the phone as far as I know though. We used void phones and you could either hang up the handset or push a button on the phone. Nobody ever said anything anyway. My boss's boss insisted on having weekly meetings with a child who constantly screams. Then she puts this child on her lap, cranks up the tablet or phone with one of those kids sing-along videos right there on her lap. And she doesn't mute herself ever. So the whole meeting is either screaming child or the wheels on the F-all bus going round and around. I feel your pain, OP. Glad you got professional service when you called back. People who don't even try to figure out childcare suck. I get that parents can't always be perfect. Really, there are times when crap happens, but the kind of crap OP went through is unexcusable. Set up the TV for the kids in another part of the house. Make them watch with headphones. Something. Even if stuff happens, there was no real excuse for this lady to behave the way she did. Not only did she act like a complete child, but she was completely responsible, and this was her job, and she worked for Disney Plus, a very well-known streaming service. So I can only imagine the consequences. I really do hope there are consequences. I'm not saying that she should get fired, but she should definitely get a talking to and figure out how to keep her kid out of her workstation. And this was a post from a while ago when COVID was first starting. So it was also around the time when parents were complaining that they had to spend all that time with their children who they chose to have. So that part was really interesting and really funny. So I can only imagine the entitlement that went into her decision to hanging up the phone on a customer that did nothing wrong, and all she wanted to do was to be able to hear her. So if the customer is not hearing her, obviously something is wrong. The fact that she didn't even try, she just got angry at the lady instead.